Hello, I am Bryce.cosplay, and today we'll be learning how to declog your airbrush and how it can become clogged. First of all, how do you find out if your airbrush is clogged? Well, the paint doesn't come out. So what do you do when your paint doesn't come out? You start troubleshooting. First thing I like to try to do is I will dilute my paint a little bit more because it might be too thick. And then if that doesn't work, turn up the PSI and see if maybe that can fix it. A good tip that I like to do is mixing anything, or if I'm trying to blow a chunk out of the air channels, what I'll do is I'll put my finger over the top of the nozzle and then pull the trigger back, which you have seen me do several times in this video. In the event of none of that working, you're going to want to empty your bowl. I like to empty my paint back into the original container, or if it's a custom mix, I'll just empty it into a new container and either pop the lid on or cover it with saran wrap. You'll see in this video that I don't really rely on anything to clean the airbrush besides diluted blue window cleaner. I find that it just works, I've never had an issue with it, and it's just cheap. Due to the size of this clogged airbrush, we're going to clean it from top to bottom, starting with the bowl.
Well, it's definitely clogged.
Now, that shouldn't actually happen when you go to release your airbrush.
Right.
It should just be pushed through the air channels, and since this did happen, it makes it a little bit more difficult, and it tells you how badly the airbrush is actually clogged. So empty out that bowl, and you're going to clean it manually with either a thin cloth or paper towel. Paper towel and Q-tips is your best friend here. I also like to keep a container of, once again, diluted blue window cleaner, and I'll pop in all of my parts to the airbrush to let sit and soak in the solution while I deal with the body of the gun. Make sure that you're gentle with these pieces. You don't have to be like, oh my gosh, it's so delicate, but you don't want to throw them in either. You want to be, just kind of place them in gently. And then just let it sit and soak. You'll see how much paint was really in this because I didn't clean anything before dropping it in there. And then I will just go in with Q-tips or cotton swabs, whatever you call them, through where the bowl connects to the gun and just kind of swab out as much paint as possible. And then I will either let it soak inside with the rest of the pieces, or I'll kind of swish it out a little bit by just scooping up the solution and then pouring it out. You can also just use your little spray bottle full of diluted window cleaner and just spray it in as well, but I found this was just kind of easier. You'll see here that I'm rolling the cotton swab up against the nipple of my airbrush, and that's just to see if there's any leftover paint still going on. You could do it with a cloth as well. You just kind of make sure there's some liquid in the little empty cavity, and then you run it along, and if you're still seeing the color of your paint, that means it's not clean yet. But it does mean that some fluid is coming out, which is a good thing. So it's just rinse and repeat at this point. So what causes airbrushes to become clogged? A few things. One of the main reasons is your paint's too thick. So in that case, all you want to do is dilute it with the diluter of choice. If it's alcohol ink, you're going to want to use 99, 70, or 75% isopropyl alcohol. If it's acrylic, you could use water or blue window cleaner. And then if it's oil, you want to use an oil base. They do sell generic paint thinners that you can use for airbrushes. It's designed for airbrushes. I don't tend to use them because I like to be on the cheaper side. I like to be conscientious with my spending because cosplay is an expensive hobby and I don't want it to financially ruin me. So just checking the needle to see if there's clogs, see if it's going through, turning on my compressor, making sure that there's air. There's none. Nothing's coming through except for when I drag the needle up against the tissue. So that means it's still clogged, and we're gonna need to do a little bit more than what we have been. But before we get into that, we're gonna quickly take out our pieces that have been soaking and wipe them down, making sure that they're free of any paint. And the reason we don't want to leave them for too long is because you can degrade your airbrush pieces if you let them soak for a long time. I usually do 30 minutes max. I have degraded a rubber seal along my bigger bowl because I left it for too long. and so I can no longer use that unless I want the paint to kind of go everywhere. That is why I don't leave my pieces in there for too long. Now you'll see I have found a little pick thing. This usually comes with your airbrush, and it's very handy when you have clogs. Like in the cap here, there was quite a large clog, and that just kind of allows you to scrape away at it. You don't want to use too much pressure because you can actually scrape the full-on metal in the airbrush, but you just want to be gentle, just kind of very lightly scraping things away. And then, so we've moved on to the body of the brush. I'm fully taking everything out. I'm putting it in a secure little spot. Don't worry, I'm not going to lose any piece. And then we're going to work away with the picks that it came with, the cleaning picks, as well as the little cleaning brushes that you see me pulling out. We're just going to start feeding those through, doing a twisting and a back and forth method that is going to loosen any paint that is stuck inside these pieces. You want to kind of work your way from the thinnest all the way to the thickest if that spot allows it. Some pieces just only take the smallest brushes, and that's perfectly okay. You don't want to force the larger ones in. So once again, just kind of twisting the wire brush and the bristle brush in there, adding a little bit of my blue Windex diluter just to kind of help it take away some of the chunks that is inside, and rinse and repeat. It's a lot of doing the same thing over and over again with cleaning out your airbrush, but practice makes perfect, as they say, and you want to make sure your airbrush is clean. This is one of the reasons why you should clean your airbrush after every use. So here, after finally a long time of just a lot of brushing, a lot of scraping, I actually pulled out one of the chunks, and as you can see, it was a large one. That was stuck in my brush. That was stuck in the airbrush. You know what I mean. This is another reason why it's handy to have a container filled of the solution, is because you can just dip your Q-tips in or your paper towel, and it works very lovely. So here I am just taking the pick that the airbrush came with, and then just trying to chisel and pick away some of the larger chunks that are stuck into the airbrush, and then going in with a Q-tip at every time I loosen one, just to make sure it won't get stuck or moved to a different location of the brush. After all of that, I've discovered that it still cannot be cleaned fully without taking off the nipple. The nipple is a very delicate piece. It is actually, in fact, smaller than a lot of people think. That little piece that I just set down, that right there, that's the nipple. That is the tiniest piece in this airbrush, and it is the most delicate. So when taking it off, you want to be very careful about it. I like to use the wrench that the airbrush came with to start the process of taking off the nipple, and then I will just use my fingers to twist off the rest, and then just very lightly, very gently putting it down and putting it in a secure location. So after that's all done, I'm just going to take one of the brushes and feed it through where the nipple connects to the gun, and then cleaning through the bowl with a Q-tip to make sure any chunks are grabbed, and then with the nipple being very delicate, very gentle with it as I feed one of the picks through. There is a large, emphasis on large, chunk in this nipple, so it's going to take a while to get out. Just be patient, don't force it. This piece is very breakable, and I'm gonna say that multiple times because it is. I have already had to replace, not the nipple, because you can't replace the nipple, you have to replace the entire gun if you lose or break this piece. That is why I'm emphasizing the fact that you should not break it or lose it, because that is a whole new gun that will be needed. Unless you have a spare lying around, which, personally, I don't. You might, but that is why. Now that the nipple is de-clogged and cleaned, what I'll do, I'll kind of do the reverse of taking it off. I'll start with my fingers and lightly twist it on, and then using the wrench, I will finish the project. Only twisting a little bit, not doing it too tight. Now that your brush is all clean, it's time to reassemble. I kind of do this sporadically. I'll start with either a few pieces on the front, or I'll start with a bowl, but it's to your own preference on how you want to reassemble your gun, just as long as it's in working order. If you're still unconfident in taking apart your gun, I do recommend filming yourself doing it and then maybe putting the pieces in order of which they're supposed to go on. So then you know how it's put on. There's no, oh my gosh, what am I missing? So then that's what you have. You have your reference. Now, for your needle, you want to make sure that the needle goes back and forth like this. If it's stuck in the position that it's in, then that means your nut is too tight and you have to loosen it. On the other side, if the needle you can't see it, then what you want to do is you just want to loosen the nut, push the needle a bit more forward, and then tighten the nut, and you're good to go, or you should be. But we've successfully cleaned this airbrush. It now works perfectly. It has been declogged, so woohoo, we've done it. And I hope you found this video educational and maybe entertaining. But thank you for watching. If you like it, please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.